Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Profit Minds podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen Kirch, creator of the Profit Minds Growth System, a unique blend of profit growth, productivity acceleration, and building robust business process for scale. In every episode, I interview entrepreneurs and small business owners from around the world with a unique story to tell. You can find the show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and more. Hi, everyone. Today, my guest is Deb Feder, a business development and client relationship strategist. Today, we'll be talking about how to manage your days and have time for the big goals. And what does a really great conversation strategy look like? Welcome, Deb.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
So, longtime listeners to this show will know that the first question I always ask is, tell me your story. How did you get to be where you are? Because everybody's story is so interesting and unique.
So I won't go all the way back to growing up in Iowa with entrepreneurial parents, but we'll just put that there. I practiced law for 15 years, and I was both in big law firms and in-house. And when I came back to the law firm towards the end of my practicing days, I realized that we could do things easier, right? I'm that person who likes to go into a restaurant and rearrange the line because it could be more efficient for everybody. Or my husband, like I always say to my husband, don't you think we should order, like if we order 2 feet over, like everybody, this would be so great. But that's really what I do in work too. I know, right? I love finding ways that we can be more simple and effective and supportive of each other. And so I started experimenting with ways that I was supporting clients, ways that I was supporting other members of my teams, and really started taking off and getting really curious about how could we make practicing law at the time, right? And hitting our goals and managing our days and still having time for our life, all doable. My mom had been sick and ended up passing away. At some point, a few years later, I ended up being the responsible family member for my grandmother who was in her late 90s. And look, at life happens, right? And it happens for all of us. But I really am a believer that we don't need to put things on hold and wait for things to calm down. Because I don't know about you, Steve, but that doesn't happen for me, right? So it was either like, you can't have this or you got to find a way to make it work. And so I really launched into this work over about 12 years ago with that intent. Come the pandemic, things shifted wildly within about 2 weeks for me.
Really?
So, yeah, really.
That's got to be unique, right? That didn't happen for anybody. Right?
Well, so here's what happened. I mean, right. Well, okay. So let me tell you what happened there. The days that we all like got sent home.
Yes, of course.
Okay. I always say that and everybody's like, yeah. And I'm like, exactly. I got a lot of phone calls within 2 days of people saying, listen, Deb, I cannot pay for your high-end program right now. I'll send me to divorce court. Yet I'm scared. I don't know what to do. What can you do to help? And I got the same phone call over and over again. And I remember looking at my husband going, okay, there's something here, right? Like I have to help. And it really was from a place of, this is a need and we have to find a way to help each other. That the more that we can keep people working together and collaborating, and to me, it was like the easy thing I could do. I mean, we were all so helpless that if I could help other people find a way, game on. So I had this idea. I thought that I would be like a lot of coaches out there and I put all my materials on a platform and I jump on and you could ask me questions. Except for I got on the phone or on Zoom and everybody said, we don't have questions. We just want you to tell us what to do. So it turns out I have a gift for kind of bossing people around and like having what it is I'm like your personal trainer. That was the launch of Focus 30 sessions. And I've had clients on 6 continents join, and it's like a gym workout for your work. And
so talk to me about that program a little bit. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that program, the Focus 30 program.
So again, that's how it started, right? Like people said, just tell us what to do. And I was like, Okay, grab you an email. Here's who we're going to email today. And you know what it does is it gives you that deep breath that you don't have to sit and stare at your computer and figure out like, I want to go do something to bring in a little bit more business, or I'm trying to do a little bit more to grow my practice, but I don't know exactly what to do. So instead of spinning the wheels and trying to figure it out, I've broken it down for you. So right now it started off as once a week, and no, um, that it started off once a week. It's now 4 times a week. We now actually have focus 15 sessions.
So
And
are those the length, the 15 or the 30 is the length
yeah,
of the
the length.
session?
Well, it is
Okay.
30 minutes or less, right? Like, so every time is so on Mondays, we set up your week for success. We're looking at your goals, your calendar, your priorities, your obligations, your task list, and like making sure like your tools are working together. Every Monday we do that. On Wednesdays, it's outward focused, networking, relationship building, continuing conversations, all of that. Fridays, that whole thing on Sunday afternoon where a lot of people are like, kind of like annoyed with what didn't happen the week before, and you're kind of freaking out, and you're looking at the week ahead and kind of freaking out, and you end up spending a lot of time on the weekends. I've condensed that to a 30-minute session on Fridays.
Wow. That sounds really great.
It's great. And so, you know what? People come on, and the thing is, it turns out it worked. And I'll be very honest. I thought it was like a 2-month pandemic thing, keep everybody going. It'll be great. And it just kept going. And now we're almost at 4 years. And we've added in a calendar, which is like your workout calendar. It gives you 2 tasks a day, every day of what to do. And it balances managing your time, managing your network, LinkedIn, client development, new and old clients, internal, external. Like we balance it out. And so I really do look at where you are in the year, where we should be. Like right now, right? We're coming close to the end of a calendar year. Everybody's in this like full on press, but sometimes we just need to like also remember to like how to balance that.
That's really great. And I find this with my clients as well, is that there are so many things that they could do, and they wind up spinning their wheels because I just don't know which is the right thing to do. And you
Exactly.
know what? You know what I've discovered? It almost doesn't matter. Don't just sit there, do something.
Do
It
something.
doesn't matter what it is, just do something.
And here's the thing.
Progress.
And then it works, right? Like when you start to consistently do those little 5-10 minute things, right?
Mhm.
They start to layer and they start to roll. And you can start to see what's working.
I love that. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about, you said, strategies for networking or conversations
Yeah.
or those kinds of things. I know that's a really big part of what you help people with. What does that look like? What's a good strategy for that?
So I'm sure you've talked to your clients about this too, where there's this idea that you're going to meet somebody and they hand you work, right? You say hello, and they're like, "You're hired," and you're like, "Oh
Ah,
my gosh!" Send
wave a
them
magic wand and it's
right. Surprisingly, that's not really how it happens, right?
it
It
doesn't happen that way
happens.
for you.
If
Sorry.
it did, I would be like, "Hold on, I need to document this moment. We just met. We're working together." Like, so here's the thing. It's all about how you progress a conversation forward. So it starts with hello, right?
Yeah.
And then there's small talk. And I actually am a big believer in small talk. I think that there's a lot of really great big things that happen through small talk. You build trust, you kind of figure somebody out. And from there, you can start to learn about what they do, their approach, their worries, their priorities. And then after that, we can start to get curious and not just being like asking question after question, right? This isn't meant to be an interrogation, but it is meant to be get a little strategic in your curiosity so you can validate your own ideas and your own assumptions, right? My clients are really great at what they do. They've been doing it for a really long time. They know their stuff. And often the first thing I have to say is, could you do me a favor? And like almost forget that you know it all when you walk into these conversations, because I want you to learn and validate like that the words you use are also the words your clients are using today. Right. And then
Mm.
as we kind of find those validation points, right? Like what are like the big issues your clients are facing, Steve?
Well, the big issues very often they don't even recognize that these are their issues,
Okay.
right?
Right.
But delegation, letting go, the whole thing about, how do I build a scalable business? But they
Hmm.
don't know that they're the roadblock to scaling because they've
Right.
been so successful to this point. And somehow they think that what got them here is the same knowledge that they need to get to the next place, right?
Exactly. Right. But you can't walk up and be like, hi, nice to meet you. You know what your issue is? Delegation.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You almost have to guide them by the hand and lead them to the
That's
delegation.
absolutely right.
Right? And, like, knowing, like, I'm gonna, like, take you and so I often like to say, like, where is it you want the conversation to end? Not like, "Hey, give me the work," but, like, really, how do you wanna feel when you walk out of this conversation? And then where is it how are we gonna, like, go there? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So
And
so
that's the progression.
having that sort of in your head and being curious to validate, because I don't know for this particular prospect that is her biggest problem, right?
Right,
Until I get a chance to understand, where does she want to go? What does she want her business to be like?
right,
And so yeah, it's yeah, but yeah, absolutely have to get curious, have to
right,
understand, and you know then you can, once you can understand what's going on, you can then diagnose and see whether or not, hey, I might even not even be the right person for this conversation, this person that I'm having a conversation with.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then you can actually stay centered, you can stay grounded, you can, stay focused, right? So I think or I often see, I should say, that listening, right, and how we practice really great deep listening is a game changer because, you know, I'm often already thinking about like, well, what's he going to ask me? Oh, he started to ask about delegation. I should launch into delegation. That wasn't what you were asking. Right? But like I heard delegation and I'm like ready to geek out on it.
Yeah. So does your methodology, you said you started as a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
And started helping lawyers. I presume that you're helping more than just lawyers at this point.
Absolutely. Right. So I work with anybody who is working, who brings in business and manages work that is based on their expertise, experience, high level client service. So accountants, consultants, um, obviously lawyers, business owners, right? So anybody who's really into having great client relationships, right? So this is not like high volume turning, lots of quick turn clients is not really my expertise and my niche at this point, right? So where I'm working with are people who are wanting to invest in and develop really great client relationships.
Yeah. So one of the other things that you mentioned was about managing, managing life, right? And the challenge that all of us have, the small business owners, entrepreneurs in particular, are experts who probably could, and many do, work many more hours than they should, neglecting all other pieces of their life. So how do you talk to your clients about managing, their days and business development and how much is enough and sort of those kinds of some bigger questions?
So I'll be honest, I really firmly believe that there are no right or wrong rules, right? So sometimes you hear out there like ideas that like you need to tell people that you're going to stop answering the phone at this hour and that this is exactly how you're going to work. If that's what you need and that works for you and your clients, okay. But if it's not what you need, then that's also okay, right? And finding what your personal rules are and what is like needed for your life at this given moment, because let's be honest, it can change rapidly, right? I think is kind of first and foremost. So kind of deciding for you like what it is that having the life you want to live and the career and the book of business that you want, what do they both look like? And then let's find a way to make them work together. And I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but this is how my best piece of advice is I want you to imagine that your family has somebody in town has called and said, we're on our way for dinner and they're going to be there in 20 minutes. And if that happens, I can clean my house, get dinner made, set a table, get everybody happy around here, and it's all fine. 20 minutes. But if I said to myself, you know what? You have all weekend to clean the house. I'll take all weekend to clean the house. Right? But you tell me like somebody's coming over in 20, I got this place sparkling. So you got to crunch time sometimes, right? So you can't, that's why focus 30s work. It's 30 minutes. We're not going to spend all day, sending out networking emails and like nurturing relationships. We're going to do it for 30 solid minutes and then move on with the day. Right? So I find that like knowing how to crunch time, knowing how to know what your rules are. And then honestly, my best strategy is not looking at that email box first thing in the morning.
Oh, that's so important. I don't know how many people are just ruled by their inbox.
Well, and do you find like people use, I mean, one of my big things is that your inbox is also not a filing cabinet.
Oh,
and
gosh.
So how many emails are sitting in that inbox, right?
Yep.
And I'll be honest, I recently just asked my kids about this and I was like, you guys do use folders, right? And they were like, somebody mentioned that to us a while back. And I was like, yeah, you're about to have a quick mom lesson in how to set up email folders.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so great. I ran at one point in time, and I should probably resurrect it, a 5-day challenge, 5 days to inbox zero.
Okay, so can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
Because I typically say that I don't love inbox zero. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Because I worry that if you're going for inbox zero, they're always just answering emails.
Oh, no. This is I take your 20,000 emails or whatever it is that you have right now and getting it to zero. And then, of course, the ongoing management is not a first thing in the morning, and it's not a continuous thing. It's a 2 or 3 times a day. Because what I tell my clients, and I'm sure you tell them yours is the same thing. People are not sitting at their computer waiting for your response to their email.
Well, and if they are, they also know how to get a hold of you and say urgent.
Right.
Right. I mean, I think that like, I always imagine like us all sitting at computers, just like responding all day long. And then you never get anything done.
Right. Yeah. My last year of working in corporate, I realized actually a couple of years in before I retired, that my biological prime time, my most effective time for getting my stuff done was first thing in the morning. And I was spending the first 2 hours at my desk answering emails. And I went, that's stupid. And so
you figured it out at the end?
Well, yeah. So I'm slow. But so what I did was I sent a note to all of my team. I had about 40 people working for me. And I told my boss and all my colleagues, who are all around the world, I said,
yeah,
I am not going to be answering my email first thing in the morning. I'm going to wait until 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'm going to work on important strategic projects during that time. But if you need me to answer an email quickly, either phone me or text me, right? And I will look at the email before that, before that time, right? And in the last year of working at Intel, do you know how many times, and I got hundreds of emails every day.
Right.
Do you know how many times people told me that they needed me to look at something before 10:30 in the morning?
This feels like a trick question. I am going to say less than 10. Oh,
Once.
1. Okay. See it?
Once. You were right.
Amazing.
Once.
That's amazing.
And honestly, it probably could have waited.
But
I honored it. I honored
it
it.
felt urgent to them.
It felt urgent to him. He was one of my managers. I honored his request. I looked at it. I took care of it. But the point here is that people are not, they're not really sitting at their computer and wait. They're doing other stuff. And if you spend your time replying and putting that stuff and being reactive to what's on your phone at the beginning of the day, right? Now you're acting out of somebody else's priorities, not your own.
Okay, so I will say this 100% that when you move into reacting to other priorities, my clients tend to actually have a need to be highly responsive to clients. So my approach is go do something for a half hour, 30 minutes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to spend 5 minutes triaging your inbox.
That works.
And then take a 5-minute break and then decide after that 5-minute triage, what is the urgent. But if you break down a task and then have a triage period that's happening frequently, right? So my clients cannot take the day and half a day before they can look at emails. It doesn't work for their positions and their client work. But if you have I'm going to get one thing done before I jump into the fires, it feels really great to have accomplished that one big priority first thing in the morning.
It does. It does. Yeah. No, there are a variety of ways of handling it. Right.
Right.
And
and I think that for some positions, you don't have to be on email. For those in client service positions, lawyers, accountants, consultants, often you do. And that's okay. But we can manage it by knowing how to get like that priority done and then triaging.
Yeah. No, I think that's excellent. You can also, of course, have your assistant do the triage for you if you have.
Sometimes it depends, I think.
Yeah. Again, there's not one size fits all, and I think that's the important thing to understand here.
Totally.
So let's shift strategies a little bit, and I know you have a book that you wrote, right? After Hello.
I do. It's right here.
So, oh, look at this.
Look at that.
So talk to us about the book. What's the key idea in the book?
The key idea to the book is how to build a book of business comes one conversation at a time. And that choosing to be brave and to step into the work and really how to engage in all sorts of different conversations that bring in business.
Yeah. It's great. And it really is true, right? It's one conversation at a time. We do business with people.
Right.
And you
humans
need to
want
build
work with
relationships.
other humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so important.
And I'm actually working on the next book, that is coming out next year, is how to take those conversations and turn them into opportunities.
I love that. Well, maybe we should have you back after you publish the next book.
I would love that.
So Deb, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Email deb@debfeder.com, or they can head to my website at debfeder.com. And there's, ways to just book a call with me and just set up a time to talk. I love just sitting down and having conversations, and really just kind of geeking out on what's next for other people and learning about others. And if, the other thing that I have found is helpful is like finding like what is really like what you are excited about. And so I have a very simple scorecard that's at debfeder.com/scorecard. And it's not a form. It's nothing like automated. It really does kind of work for like finding your unique kind of next strategy.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for that. Yeah, and that
Thank you.
concludes our show for today. Thanks to my guest, Deb Feder, a business development client relationship strategist. And it's all about the relationship. I hope you learned something about how to manage your days and have time for your big goals and what a really great conversation strategy looks like. I know I did. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to the Profit Minds podcast. This is your host, Dr. Stephen Kirch. Please visit www.profitminds.net for other episodes or to contact me. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others. Thanks for listening. Have a grateful day.